Hey everyone, today I'm going to tell you why you should play Cities Skylines. Now if you didn't already know, and as you may have guessed, Cities Skylines is a city management simulator. The basic concept is you start with a plot of land where you'll begin building housing and services to attract residents. The aim of the game is to build a balanced city with as many people as possible to earn as much money as possible from taxation and services while keeping the city happy and stable. At its heart, Cities Skylines is an emergent puzzle game about people. While the concept of building a city is fun, and you can do it without repercussions in the game editor or with cheats, which is a great way to have total freedom and build whatever you want, but for me, the game is less about the creative element and more about the puzzle solving of a dynamic city. To fully explain this, I'll need to introduce some important game mechanics. The game is primarily governed by three growth types which you can place anywhere along roads: residency, commerce, and jobs. The demand for residency means your city is seeking more people. This usually means there are places with jobs, room to move in, and an excess amount of coverage from services. Commerce is where your residents want to buy things, whether it be local shops, supermarkets, electronic stores, and all that good stuff that makes a city a marketplace. While this does create some jobs, it's primarily a marketplace first. Industry and offices is where work gets done and where demand for jobs is the highest. The higher the education of a resident, the more they will prefer to work in offices. Lower educated residents will work regular industry such as factories or raw resources. So that's all well and good, however the placement of these growth types is extremely important. Let's take a random citizen and follow their life. Their name is John, they're middle-aged, they're well educated, and they work in an office. This means they need to get to and from work every day, and sometimes may want to go to a park, to the shop, or wherever. Following their life, we can see the routes they take and any inefficiencies in how they get there. This person essentially needs to be able to move from a residential zone to an industrial zone quickly. At the same time, there's approximately 3,000 people all doing the same thing from the same block of flats in my city. This is where roads get backed up, public transport gets overcrowded, and the city can potentially break down. On top of this, we have shops that need to receive their goods. Cargo stations and ferries deliver goods from outside the bounds of your city and deliver an influx of vehicles to your roads. The more shops, the more industry, the more deliveries in and out of your city. On top of that, there's also police, ambulances, fire trucks, garbage trucks, and even hearses that roam your city, clogging up the traffic. Buses and rail are no exception to the creation of congestion either. This essentially means the game is driven by the problem that you're trying to solve all the time. If you're playing it right, your city will be making money and growing. However, a growing city brings with it new problems. Eventually you'll have to either purchase new space or come up with new solutions to already solved problems. A road network that worked for 5,000 people typically won't work for 10,000 people, and so on. It's true that the game can feel like you're playing Traffic Warden Simulator at times, but in reality you need to think about the mass of people and where they're trying to go. If your roads are clogged up, you can invest in public transport. All big cities have trains, metros, and buses, and this is how the majority of people get around. It's less about traffic and more about the movement of people en masse. Initially, I just threw bus stops down essentially randomly and really far apart, and this didn't really solve anything. It was only when I observed what was going on, where they were going, that I got my solution. I figured that placing bus stops in smaller local routes next to metro stations would make people's commutes faster, and it did, by a lot. I then ran the metros between districts and the rail on the outskirts, which cleared out almost all my congestion. So in City Skylines, the deeper you go, the more rewarded you are. Had I not spent the time to figure out the problem and place the routes logically, my city would be developing slower and would be way more expensive, and there'd be a ton of congestion. So residents have needs: electricity, fresh water supply, clean air, little noise, garbage collection, safety, and recreation. This adds layer upon layer of depth to your cities. Garbage, sewage, and different types of electricity produce pollution, which lowers land value, keeping people away from moving in and lowering the amount that you can tax them. Dams can be built on rivers, which backs up the water, so if you're not careful, floods can happen. Drainage canals can be built to relieve this, and so on. It feels like for every solution, there's a problem associated with that, which is what makes it so fun. City Skylines is an excellent example of deep and realistic game mechanics that build on top of one another to form a complex simulation of how a city runs. As the game has been out for just over 2 years, there's a huge amount of mods to check out. I haven't even begun to scratch the surface, but you can get templates of road connections, graphics mods, new mechanics, buildings, services and more. And there's loads of handy guides out there too for beginners. Now this can be something that people are turned off by. Is it too complicated? Is it too deep? I don't want to be spending hours building bus routes, there's too many overlays, etc, etc. And I agree that this can all be overwhelming to look at first, but City Skylines slowly introduces mechanics to the player every time you play. You always start off with just a plot of land and work your way up to a little village. At this level, high-level transport concepts and services aren't introduced to you. A village has no need for a police force, hospital, cargo trains or whatever else, so you just can't place them. You start off fairly basic, and as you reach new population milestones, the deeper mechanics become available to you. And for me, this is a perfect way of introducing me to the game. You can build up fairly quick, but if you do something wrong, you can check the advisor at any time and figure out how something is supposed to work. Lastly, the game is still being developed with an active modding scene, current and future DLC, and the occasional free content drop. A few months ago, as of making this video, the Natural Disasters pack came out, which adds crazy random events that shake up the growth of your cities and reshapes the landscape. Meteor strikes, tornadoes, tsunamis and more wreak havoc on your city. However, where there's a problem, there's a solution. You can build emergency shelters, create evacuation routes and build detection methods to get the population to safety, preventing as many as you can from dying. Again, just adding a deeper layer to what would seem like a straightforward concept.
A meteor strike has occurred. Avoid the impact site and head to shelter if any is available.
So that's pretty much it for my recommendation on City Skylines. If you want to know or see more about the game, check out their active Reddit community at r/cityskylines, or YouTuber StrictToaster or YouTuber FluxTrans, who've gone way more in depth with the game and really push it to its limits. Hope you've enjoyed the first of my recommendation series. I like to think of it as telling a friend about a game for the first time. City Skylines is a moderately old game now by YouTube standards, but hopefully some of you out there learned a bit more about it and found the video interesting even if you don't think the game is. If you got any feedback, please reach out to me in the comments or elsewhere, and if you have games you want me to try, let me know. Also, if you do like it, please take the time to share it, as I've no other way of really promoting this series. If you've got a friend who you think will like the game, share this video with them and they'll thank you for it. That's all from me, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.